States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Remind anyone that has not signed in, please sign in. Approval of county board
So
minutes. I got a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any additions or deletions?
Not at this time.
We have none. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Fish Trap Lake, please come up and state your names. If at all possible, don't be shy if anybody else is with you.
Hi, I'm Tom Anderson. I am the new chairman of the LID. And this is Christine Zeman. She is
morning.
our treasurer.
Morning.
So we're brand new to Ron, if you had met Ron before, the years
Yes, we
before.
Yep.
So Ron decided to retire out of this, so we are residents of the lake, so very concerned about always making sure that we manage it right, so.
I don't know if congratulations is ordered or welcome or.
We'll put that on hold for a while.
Thank you for coming.
We're still learning here, so.
Yeah.
But
What do you have for us today?
you should have a copy in your packets
Yep.
of our budget and of our treasurer's report. And so you can kind of see what we're trying to do as we go into this next year. Christine and I were just talking about what we actually did this last year for Curly Leaf, and it was about $15,000. And of course now, this last year, we have not had the grants that helped with the lake. So we're being conservative with the $17,000 up on the top there for 2017. We had a lot of early ice out, and it was just a warm year, so that just made the environment that much better for Curly Leaf, so we want to make sure that we're taking care of that.
Mr. Chair, just a question at this point, if I may. And the zebra mussels, where's that all at? I know I've heard that they're
Well,
just on everything.
They probably doubled or tripled this year compared to last year. Last year, when we were all just in shock, like, wow, we got zebra mussels.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd pull out your dock and you'd had maybe one or two. Now it's just covered, and they're in sometimes 3 layers on top of each other.
Okay.
So that is, Scott Schnuckel and I talked about this well before I got involved in this. And we're still doing some research on a frequency type of thing that would control them. We don't know where that's going yet, but we just want to make sure that if it's, we did see some research in Wisconsin.
You mean a sound wave?
A sound wave type of thing that keeps them from,
Harmonization.
yeah, it sounds like tinfoil hat type of thing, but.
Yeah, okay.
But
With antennas.
Yeah, with antennas. So it's something that would keep them from thriving. And the research on it looked really good, but you always want to make sure you don't have collateral damage and you're not killing the good mussels in the lake. So, all we can do is keep trying to find something that would help control them. We know that they love algae. And so if our balance of plants in the, for scrubbing the lake are there, that's got to help, because it seems like wherever there's more algae, there's more of the mussels.
Okay. There is, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I may, the charter of the LID covers really only curly leaf pondweed if we have interpreted the language correctly. And so at this point in time, the belief with everybody, Mr. Nypan, Tom and I, reviewing all of this, it appears that we are a bit constrained with only a focus on treating the curly leaf pondweed. If that is not truly the case, we would welcome learning difference.
If I may, the point you're saying is that you're not gonna use any of these funds for the zebra mussel, but I think as far as your annual board meeting, you can kind of state where the money goes. Is that what you're saying?
There's a difference between the Lake Association and the lid.
Right, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, can I jump in? You're correct, because you have a management plan which was put in place when you were created, and that management plan has not been updated. It should be updated at least every 5 years, something I've been encouraging each lid to do. We've been trying to get Helen's group to work with you, but she's been overly busy because of the buffer laws. But if there's anybody else, my office can help you to update that plan, or the DNR, or anybody. That's something you need to update so that you can work on the zebra mussels,
Right.
because you can only work on what is included in that plan.
Does that plan have to be approved by the board then and
It does,
readdressed?
yeah, I believe have to be approved by the board, it has to be approved by the DNR, by Soil and Water, it has to go through the whole process.
Of the initial outset of the
Basically,
somewhat.
I don't know if it needs a public hearing or not, I would have to check that, but it does basically have to go through the full approval process.
So we have at least an option to kind of progress that way, it sounds like. So we'd love to be able to make sure that, I mean, we love our lake, we want to do what we can to manage it right, so.
Mr. Chair, and if I might, you're part of the Quad Lake LID.
Yep.
And their wording, you might want to just look at that and then bring it back for a I think the public hearing process probably would have to occur again, I would think. But anyways, to include aquatic species. Because I
Right.
think Lake Alec includes bogs, anything that's aquatic. So I think that covers it all, and that would cover the zebra mussel and whatever else. So you
Right.
may want to go on that process. And they know
Yeah.
how to do it very well. They have all the wording and language, so
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of
Yeah.
getting it from them and going through the process.
Always talking with Adolph, so maybe,
Yeah,
to-
yeah, he's very involved.
yeah, that's nice to have that layering.
Yeah.
We're all trying to protect our lake, so.
That's very much so.
My point to here is that, they were just discovered, what, 2-3 years?
Last year.
Last year?
Last year.
And now it's like, well, they're everywhere. It's kinda like, well, where, did they
Yeah.
multiply that fast?
Yeah, well,
Or just
the,
that people are no more observant now?
yeah, those little creatures with, the larvae.
The villagers, yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm just amazed. I would bet that Alex got them, we just don't know it yet. I think that it's, we probably had them a year or two before
Oh,
they actually
definitely.
showed up, so, yeah. Scary little creatures that they just take over the lake like that.
Mr. Chair, and I just was reading some new studies, actually green sunfish have been found to eat them as a part of their diet, and there are green sunfish in these local lakes, so they have a
Right.
hinged jaw and can crush the zebra mussel. So there are some natural species to our lakes that do eat them. It's
Right.
whether there's enough of them or not.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, we're finding out it's not their food of choice, but it is something they can eat, so. that's-
Anything else for us?
No, that would be it, just so you have what our budget is and our treasurer's
And
report.
Mr. Chair, we do need to
Roll call.
approve that and then the assessment.
Okay, gentlemen, this will be on a roll call
Well,
vote.
motion that we haven't
Oh,
called.
all right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I need a,
So moved.
I got a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
What is the assessment, Mr. Chair?
60.
60, what is it?
60.
I'm actually struggling finding it here too.
I don't
Because I'm
see it.
sorry,
not-
I don't
I don't
see
see
it.
Is
it.
it on?
I'm sorry, that
question.
report was, I created that budget based on the historic ones that were in the files from the former treasurer.
Okay.
There was nothing specifying in that what the actual proposed assessment was.
Okay.
So that is verbatim set up the way it was.
Do you know offhand what that's gonna calculate out at, what
It's,
the difference is?
it's a $60 per property assessment.
60.
I believe it's approximately 330 property owners that actually do get assessed. There are a few, like the DNR land and whatever, that don't receive the assessment. But I think the number was around 330 from Joe Haynes' spreadsheet that was sent.
Excuse me, is this something that Brian, we'd need in written format before we take a vote on it? Rather than just a verbal? I don't wanna throw this out there.
Yeah, we can put it in there if it's $60. You would,
I have the minutes from
Your.
The annual meeting.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
And I
We're
believe those were
confident in
sent
a number.
were emailed to all the commissioners at the time. Chuck Salter, I believe on behalf of Tom, put it together and then sent it out. We assumed it was sent around September 15th. I can.
Yeah, I know there were copies that were sent
Okay.
to
So, if I
everybody.
may, it's $60
Yes.
per
Yep,
household?
60 per Lakeshore
Yeah.
property.
It had been 10 the year before, based on the lower acreage of curly leaf pondweed for the last prior 2 years. But then we were faced with having to treat 28 acres this last year, and at some deeper depths, which caused an increase in the cost even from what was originally proposed.
So there isn't a change. It was in 2016, it was also 60, so the same assessment is being applied in 2017, looks like. Is that what I'm reading?
It doesn't state. May I?
It says the Fish Trap Lake Improvement District Board approved a budget in a 2016 assessed fee of 60 per Lakeshore property. The budget will be submitted to the Board of Commissioners pending approval of the board. Each property on Fish Trap will be assessed $60 in 2017.
If I'm not mistaken, 2016 assessment was only $10.
It had been taken down because of the DNR grants from the years before, and I know Ron was really
I know.
good
Echo
at,
maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, he didn't want too much in there,
If you look at
but
2015
it's nice to have a buffer so we run into these problems, so.
Well, it does state at $60 for 2017, so
Oh,
that is what.
$60, yeah.
So Commissioner Mauer, would you like to amend your motion to include the $60? that
I would.
Okay. All right, and we got a second for Commissioner Wilson.
So, and Mr. Chair, I guess I would have one more thing, that, folks, you obviously had an annual meeting,
Yes,
and you discussed this at your annual meeting. I would ask the question, number one, is how was that attended for numbers? And I don't want you to say there was 200 people there, just, was it attended well? And you must have discussed and passed that you would have a $60,
yes, and that was with the chairman before me, so he's the one that,
Okay.
and we were all there at that meeting. It was all part of the, kind of a double meeting.
so did you have a whole lot of people that were in favor of it, or a whole lot that were against it? I'm just asking that question.
I
Or don't you know?
don't recall that there was any voiced opposition.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I was at the meeting. There wasn't any voiced opposition.
Okay. Okay.
And just for the record, I'd like the other commissioners just take a look at the note of the $60 for the.
Yep.
Per property. $60
Yep.
right at the bottom.
Very good.
And if there has been any confusion or whatever, we truly apologize, but this transition has been interesting.
All right.
We'll just include the assessment with the budget and then we're good.
All right.
All right, gentlemen, I have a motion and a second. And this will be a roll call. Commissioner Mauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. Aye. Myself, aye. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, and just one other thing, if I may.
Go right
Thank you
ahead.
for all your hard work, and I've spoken at the Lake Owners Associations and at the LIDs, and have mentioned at this board. My hope is that, and in talking to our legislators, Ron Kresha and Paul Gazelka, this money that the county gives to you out of that invasive species fund was not to circumvent or to supplant that which the DNR gave. It concerns me deeply that they're pulling back their support for the lakes. Very clearly, this issue needs to be dealt from a statewide perspective as opposed to continuing to basically sock it to the lake owners. I mean, you all do so much already. Your taxes are higher, I think, than the general public already. So I really would encourage you to continue to work with your legislators to let's get this, whether it's a license plate fee or whatever for boat licenses, whatever, that we address this from us, because it's everybody's resource. And
Right.
that's the thing we need to look at, so, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Very kindly.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes.
Have a good
thank you.
holidays.
Have a good, meeting day.
Oh, we did.
Social services.
Morning, Brad.
Good morning.
Morning, Brad Penny.
I'm gonna sit here as long as I can. I'm not feeling that well, so if I get up and walk away, I apologize. I'm not gonna throw up.
I'll sit on this side.
Brad, do you have some guests with you?
I do. So if you could please introduce yourself.
I'm Pam Baltus with Employment Enterprise.
Hi, Pam.
Good morning.
Morning.
Penny Pesta, Adult Social Services Supervisor.
In your What do you have for us, Brad?
The first thing on your agenda is a request to submit a needs determination for Employment Enterprises. Employment Enterprises is going to be moving some sites around. They still have these licenses available, but what ended up happening is they have closed the Senior Gap program, which was out on Highway 27, and the clothes hanger, which was downtown, where they served some seniors and highly disabled folks, and opened Enterprise Market. The licenses did not go to Enterprise Market, but they're still out there. And so currently Employment Enterprises is looking at purchasing a building downtown to provide elderly services and services for the more significantly disabled. It requires our agency to submit a needs determination to the state of Minnesota so that they can then be licensed at their new location. And a lot of this is needs to kind of be orchestrated so Employment Enterprises does not buy the building before they know they have permission to license it. So we need to submit this so they can get the ball rolling. I don't think as a county we're concerned about where the licenses are. They already have them, they're serving them. They're gonna move from their current facility to this new building, which will have some opportunities in at their site, so they're not so full at their current site.
Mr. Chair, I would ask a question if I may.
Go ahead.
Can you explain to me elderly services?
I will ask Pam to do that if she could.
Please?
Certainly. We are licensed as a day training and habilitation program, and a significant number of the people we serve are, well, they're elderly, but they're also physically and cognitively disabled and no longer work. The primary purpose of our program is to train and employ people with disabilities in the community. But we have probably in the neighborhood of 40 individuals who, because of the significance of their disability or their age, no longer work.
So give me an example. I'm one of those people that are gonna fall under elderly services. I'm gonna come knocking at your door. What are we gonna do?
Okay. Oh, well, there's a range of services that we offer around expanding people's opportunity to engage in the community. We work on a variety of self-help skills, in
Okay.
being independent. We're going to engage in fact, they're going to be coming to your meetings. You'll be seeing us in the future,
Okay.
sitting in meetings. We're going to try to get connected with the art program downtown and get some art going on. I have an artist I'm waiting to hire as soon as I know I'm going to get the building. So it's mostly a rec leisure kind of program.
Gotcha.
Yep.
That we can go, I can come in and maybe we can bring Kevin along and we could have a coffee and a water
Yeah.
and
that'd
visit.
be
That's what
great.
we're talking
Yeah.
about here.
So the building we're looking at is the Aspire building that we're hoping to buy, and so we're within walking distance, obviously, of Pete and Joyce would be frequent visitors, but also the library and, the shops, Little
Sure,
Falls. We have
sure.
a booth down there, and we're looking at, our Enterprise Market is closing. It was just more than we could handle, and we are going to embed a smaller version in the shops of Little Falls, so we'll also have that retail program going on the next block, so.
It would not be similar programming to the senior center out on, just
Yep. Yep.
where they make donuts and so
Yep.
forth, but.
Yep. Very good. Thank you very much.
So I would need a motion to allow our agencies to submit this on behalf of Employment Enterprises.
All right, gentlemen, I have a motion and I need a second to approve the submission of the determination of need of application.
I would second it.
I have a second from Commissioner Jelinski. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Submit it tomorrow, okay, Pam?
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you
Commissioner.
for stopping.
Thank
Please
you.
do
Very,
frequent
very kind.
visitors.
Thank
you. Anytime.
All right.
And then I'm gonna turn it over to Penny. She put together some statistics on adult mental health services. And then you'll just notice kind of the last handout is, again, the added cost to counties based on some legislative changes, so.
Good morning. So, looking at adult mental health case management specifically, just to kind of give a little bit of background information, in order for an individual to be eligible for adult mental health case management, targeted case management, they need to be 18 and they need to have a severe and persistent mental illness, which is defined very clearly in statutes, the different components that would take. Currently in Morrison County, if you look at the chart of the statistics, mental health is a little bit different than developmental disabilities in that people kind of fluctuate in and out of services a little bit more because depending on their management of their symptoms. Across the board, we've gone up and down for our total active cases. Currently in 2016, we have 129 active individuals that we're providing case management for, 28 new ones. We have 19 still in assessment, meaning that they may still open up.
So, why is there so many, that's because of the end of the year, they're still open for assessment compared to 2015-14? It's almost triple, not quite.
Right, so a couple different things that could mean. Our volume of those coming in has been increased over the last couple months, meaning that we are still in helping them get their diagnostic assessment, because we can't officially open them until they've met that SPMI criteria as determined by a mental health professional. So until we get that, they maintain an assessment. So I would guess that that's what it is,
Okay.
but right now we have 3.65 of an FTE of staff assigned to provide adult mental health case management, which allows for about 146 cases. If you include our ones currently in assessment, along with our current ones, we're at 148 right now. The next slide identifies the revenue that's generated from adult mental health case management. I broke it out into 3 different categories. Those created from individuals who are on a managed care, those that we are getting straight TCM, MA dollars for, and those that we're receiving CADI waiver dollars for the case management services. So if you notice, we steadily have been increasing with the revenue. As of September 30th, we're already at 135,000 for MCO, which is close to our total for last year, which is the same kind of trend for both targeted case management and CADI as well. Looking at the waiver, we've talked previously when we talked about developmental disability, there's a developmental disability, and then there is the CADI waiver disability, which is what individuals with mental health typically would fall underneath if they are approved for a waiver.
And with the CADI waiver, they've now basically opened up the CADI waiver again, which they did about 8 or 10 years ago, and they shut her off pretty quickly. Just because of the increase. However, now due to the Olmsted and Jensen settlements, they're opening this up again. So it does provide some opportunities for clients who have mental health issues, both children and adults who have mental health issues.
Mm-hmm. And we certainly have taken advantage of that. If you notice, the blue line on this chart indicates the number of new allocations that we've received. So in 2014, we received 2, in 2015, 3, and now in 2016, we have already received 12. And that is from us requesting additional allocations as people come through, received a min-choice assessment, were deemed potentially eligible, and we contact the state and ask for an additional allocation. The other thing that helps with is that if you notice, the orange line is the reuse allocations and any service opt. So that is decreasing. We are actually getting allocations for the individuals that we're providing service for. So we're actually getting the funds for them and not just attempting to service them under any remaining excess funds that we may have in our waiver budget.
Mr. Chair, Penny, Brad, I wonder if you can help me out just a little bit with waiver. What does that really mean? What does it really mean? This weekend, I was in the cities at a governor's council for adults with disabilities, and I helped out there on several panels. One of the panels that I sat on actually talked about waivers, and I had to sit back, kind of a dumb look on my face, dumber than it is right now, because I couldn't explain waivers. And this morning, we're talking about a waiver, but I'm anticipating that there's many more waivers than this one, and maybe I'm the only one that doesn't get it or doesn't really understand it. Can you kind of explain that waiver?
Yep, so there are 5 different waiver types. There is a brain injury waiver, so if you have had a traumatic brain injury, you would qualify for that waiver. Every waiver has different eligibility criteria. If you look, I think I put it here in,
And just the kinds of waivers that are in the graph are just above that particular graph.
right. So the community alternative care, the CADI, Community Access for Disability Inclusion and Brain Injury. The CAC, as it's commonly called, is really for those that have some chronic medically fragile conditions. The CADI, the Community Access for Disability, are those for individuals who may have a higher intensity of service need than what is provided by general MA state plan services.
So is waiver another word for money?
Yes. It's a way to pay for services to keep individuals in their own homes.
That perhaps answered my question. That perhaps
Or
answered
I
it
should
right
say maybe
there.
to keep them into the most restrictive environment possible.
Right.
Because there's also the elderly waiver and the DD waiver, so, yep. And it's it's MA money basically, coming from the feds to the state.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'm waking up here. I was just.
Sorry, I just needed to have
Yeah.
that
Good
explained.
question, good question.
The next slide shows the waiver budget. So CAC, CADI, and BI are all lumped together by the state into one budget. If you've noticed on the chart, it shows that we continually increase in our waiver budget that we are being allocated.
And this shows as part of that $77 million cost report. This is, again, part of that money that we authorize that helps pay for, assisted living, home care services, PCAs, things like that. Any questions on the waiver before the next slide really goes into, kind of turns a corner just a little bit around civil commitments and the cost of some of those things.
Any questions, gentlemen? Proceed there, Brad.
So civil commitments, I collected some data information to see kind of what our trends have been for the civil commitments over the last couple of years. For civil commitments, it can either be categorized as straight mental illness, that is the only condition that is an issue, or it can be mental illness and chemical dependency, or it could be just chemical dependency. So it could be any one of those three that are focused on. For this chart, I just focused on both the mental illness or mental illness and CD combination. In 2014, they were pretty even. 2015, still pretty even. And now in 2016, we've seen a huge change in the trend. And Brad and I were talking a little bit about, gosh, I wonder what caused that. I'm wondering if we're really just doing a better job in assessing specifically what the predominant category is that is impacting and requiring the civil commitment.
These numbers represent people.
People, the total number of people who have had a civil commitment in that year.
And there wasn't a change in any type of how we assess them. Is there like a tool or anything?
They all come from a physician's statement or an examiner's statement.
Is it maybe because there's more money available?
No, because these cost basically the same no matter what.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's an impact from drug court being implemented. I don't know if there potentially is an impact from, the new clinic program that has been going on, that we've had that social worker attached to. I don't know, but I just found it very interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the trend happens the next year too. See if we
Because
can dissect
the
that just a
numbers are
little bit.
virtually the same,
Right.
except the divisions
How
or
of that, yeah.
columns are different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who knows?
Next is just talking a little bit about the change in the costs that are going to be incurred by the county because of the changes in the requirements of payment for individuals who are at ANOCA or a CBHH who do not meet medical, the medical criteria, but remain in the facility. So if we have an individual who is deemed for maybe a civil commitment, they are transferred to ANOCA for treatment. ANOCA decides treatment has been successful, they no longer meet our medical necessity of our facility, they're ready to be discharged. From that day forward, the cost incurred and charged will be charged to the county for their stay there.
If I may, ANOCA is gonna be charging the county,
Correct.
providing we cannot find a place, but now rumor has it that they have a little hard time letting the counties know that this person may be released last week. Well, they'll let you know 30 days from now.
Mr. Chair, and I believe Stearns County has is it an active lawsuit?
I think
It's
so.
kind of on the down low now,
It is.
but it sounds like they're gonna move forward. So, but they're not really sharing a lot of information at this point about that.
Stearns County is
Yeah.
moving forward too, regarding the state's charging and not letting them know expediently enough about these people need discharge planning.
Regarding the state or Anoka County as a state?
The state,
facility?
DHS.
Oh, okay.
Cause this is the one, if I may, it's $1,309 a day, is that the one?
Yeah, something like that.
Like that per day, cause I know there's a county of our neighbor, they have one that's in limbo in the facility. They want them out, and it's, I think about over 300,000 a year to keep them in there. So, very expensive.
And it is a challenge. It's a challenge to find the appropriate right transition for that individual so that they continue to get the care that they need to be able to be successful. You know, sometimes it can be a discharge to a CBHH, the Community Behavioral Health Hospital, or an IRT, Intensive Residential Treatment Center. But yes, it all needs to be coordinated. It works best when the case manager knows and is coordinating with ANOCA. So we are trying diligently to make that happen. I'm a part of our Region 5 Plus Mental Health Initiative. As a group, Region 5 Plus, we continue to be very focused on this issue and what we are going to do as a region to try and be proactive.
Well, Mr. Chair, and the real tough crux in this whole deal is that the state determines and dictates what the commitment criteria is. And as far as you commit when a person meets these criteria, and then you commit.
And these just aren't about commitments either. These are about individuals that are admitted voluntarily as well. So it's not just about those individuals who are committed.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
And the other challenge is it's just a paper review, so the people reviewing are not part of the treatment team. It's people, doctors, nurses who are reviewing the file, so
Who determined that they need to be discharged? and
that
it
they're
goes
not,
out
that
to
they're
the
not
county?
medically, it's not medically necessary for them to be there.
Okay. So they don't have an investment, and so the issues of the county paying isn't an issue to them.
So far for the costs that Morrison County have incurred from July 1st to October 24th for ANOCA RTC was $19,000, and for the CBHH was $3,500. And we tend to be on the very low end in comparison to many counties across the state.
And that's 100% levy dollar.
Right. No, that's, yeah, good point, Commissioner. And these are the county payments that we have, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And then Penny just wanted to add some other updates. The one I just wanted to highlight a little bit while I can is the Mental Health Task Force report has come out, and there's 9 key areas. I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation around those key areas and how they're gonna move forward. But we'll see what the legislature does with this. It's nothing really dictating at this point, but I think there was nothing earth-shattering around what the challenges have been with the mental health system. So we'll see where they take these recommendations and how they roll them out.
Is there anything on the social services platform and stuff to address this issue a little bit with?
The platform really at this point is going to be, I think, to try to reinvest the money back into the system and not not necessarily have the county payments, because we thought that might be a challenge, but we'll see where it ends up. We have not finalized it yet.
Anything else?
You can just see again, the total cost, it's about $17.5 million. Significant dollars that are just going back into the state general fund, not even into DHS or reinvesting into CBHHs or community-based services, so that's really the frustration about where this money has been going. Besides having to pay it, of course. That's the first frustration.
More unfunded mandates.
But these funds actually go just into the big pot?
Into the big pot.
Wow.
Looks like about between 7 million, the high, 53,000 low, just the big difference for counties.
Yep.
So. Anything else?
That's all I have this morning.
Any other questions,
Thank you,
gentlemen?
Penny.
All
Thank
right,
you, Penny.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we have Becky here, or yes, no?
No, Emily's coming from St. Cloud, so she
Emily
should be
is-
here in a few
okay,
minutes.
well, roads will be kinda nasty.
And Amy's not here, but I can get Amy up and maybe Deb can go and
How
jump
about we
in.
get the auditor's report? Are you
Let's
ready?
jump ahead. Let's get the auditors report.
Good morning.
Good morning, Deb.
Morning.
What page is that? Gotta get the page. There you are. Got a couple licensing, this looks like.
What do we have first?
Approval of the Minnesota Trail Assistant Program?
Yes. 2017 fiscal year, so it started in June. They've already expended funds to get the trails up and running. And we have the agreement here.
And are these two separate ones, the authorized disbursement of funds and the approval, or? can we
And you
put
can
them
approve them together.
together? Okay, all
I
right.
would so move on that,
All right.
both of them.
Okay, I got a motion, a second. Any questions at all, gentlemen?
I actually have seen some reflective signs out already. We got snow finally.
It's there.
They're hard at work.
Anything else, gentlemen? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Let's see what else you got.
I think we have Mary of Lourdes raffle
Yes.
So moved.
and
do we
St.
wanna put
Joseph
these-
Put them
Church.
together,
Yeah.
right?
We'll put these two together, Mary of
So-
Lourdes and the St. Joe's School. Any, I
I'll
need a
second it.
motion and a second, so I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then we have a one-day temporary liquor license for the Little Falls Youth Baseball Association.
So moved.
I have a motion and I need
Second.
a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Should we pay the bills too?
Before you make a motion on that, Joyce brought in some additional credit card bills, if you
Yep,
wanna.
she told me about
Yes.
them coming, so.
The vendor has a new program or something, and she's having a hard time getting it
Yes.
to us, or
Software changes, gotta love them.
Gotta love them.
Oh, here's Emily. So that is included in what the motion
Well, I'll have
is?
the
We wanna
board
make
members
sure
just take
that's
a look at it.
included.
Yeah, those will be part of the motion once they take a quick look at it. I think Joyce has got a lot on her plate yet.
It's been kind of busy the last couple of months. We're finally cleaning up elections and tax collections and things are settling down a little bit.
I'm getting ready for the tax collections of next year.
Moving on to the next.
This will be a roll call vote, gentlemen.
I would so move on it, Mr.
All
Chair.
right, I got a motion. I need a second. I got a second, Commissioner Wilson. Any more discussion?
Need a copy?
Again, this will be to pay all the bills, including the credit cards that we just seen. We'll start with Commissioner Jelinski,
aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Mauer.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carried.
Perfect.
Thank you,
We're
gentlemen.
one ahead.
And
All right.
is Emily here? How are the rolls?
Thank you, Deb.
Not too bad yet.
Yes.
It's starting to snow now.
Yeah.
We'll give you we're kind of running ahead here, so you're good to go. So,
Hello, Emily.
Good morning, commissioners. Nice to see you all.
same here.
So yes, update on the roads. They're starting to get a little slippery. Snow is starting to come down and some ice and stuff. So if you're driving, please be careful. All right, so just jumping into my report, you should have received the report from all of my extension colleagues. I'll just talk a little bit about what I've been up to. I feel like it's been quite some time since I've seen you. So just a quick recap of the summer. We held between the 3 counties 3 dairy field days, 3 pasture walks in collaboration with the Dairy Grazing Apprenticeship Program. So those were specifically for grazing dairy farmers. And then also 1 beef field day. So we did that in Morrison County again on September 1st. Very successful program. We had about 70 people in attendance, I believe, there. And at our dairy field day that was in Morrison County, we had about 60 people, I believe. So that's great. You know, numbers continue to grow every year. So that's awesome. Looking forward now to what's going on this winter. So I do have 1 set of flyers for you, and of course, I naturally left my other set of flyers sitting on my desk. But the first thing I want to bring to your attention is we are once again in collaboration with our Ag Business Management team holding land rent workshops across the state. I believe there's about 50 total being held. And what these are for is they're intended for both landlords and also tenants who rent land from landlords. And the purpose is just for them to figure out how to determine a fair land rent agreement as far as price goes and other contracted type services or agreements within that. Obviously, with the low crop prices, land rent has been coming down, and that has been kind of a tough transition for some of the landlords who are used to making so much. But the big thing that we try to emphasize at these meetings is striking a balance between the farmer being able to fit this into their budgets while still hopefully making some sort of a profit or at least breaking even, and then at the same time making sure that the landlord is able to afford things, especially like their property taxes. So we already held our one in Stearns County a few weeks ago. We had over 40 people there, and we will be here in Morrison County on December 9th. I apologize, I forgot those flyers, but that one will be in the morning, I believe. And it's here in the Government Center in Meeting Room 1. So if you'd like more information about that, I'd be more than happy to get it out to you. Other things going on. So once again, myself and my colleague in Todd County, Brenda Miller, have been working with the U of M's beef team to offer a cattle feeder days program. So unlike the cow-calf program, this is specifically for people who just purchase feeders and have a feedlot type setup. And so the program in our area will be held in Bertram, which is in Todd County. But last year we were also there and got good attendance from both Stearns and Morrison counties as well. So we're hoping that we can have the same situation this year. We had about almost 70 at last year's. So I do have a flyer here that I will pass around if you're interested or know somebody that might be. There are plans in the works to once again have a cow-calf workshop in Morrison County. Due to some family emergency stuff I've been dealing with, I'm a few weeks behind on that. So hopefully by next week, I will have the official announcement ready, just working on securing a location and getting dates that will work for the speakers and all of that right now. So it is coming, so please keep an eye and an ear out. As soon as I have that, I will let you guys know. I get asked a lot, you know, Dan and I both do what's on farmers' minds, what are we dealing with, etc. And obviously a big thing right now is the current state of the farm economy, and Extension is doing some things to work on that. People more at the statewide level are currently working on creating a program that we would actually offer to lenders and other people who directly work with farmers, more of a train-the-trainer type program. I don't know much about it beyond what I just told you, but there is that coming. And also, I have been working with Jim Sulfur and Betty Burning, both regional educators in dairy and ag business management respectively, to work on getting a peer group type program started that would allow farmers to come together and offer support to one another and share ideas on how they're kind of navigating through this right now. So that is another thing that is coming down the pipeline. One final winter program that is coming, just working on firming up dates, We will once again be offering our robots versus parlors workshop for dairy producers. Last year we held it in Piers. This year I think we're looking possibly around the Rice-Royalton area, so it will be accessible again to as many farmers as possible in the 3 counties that I serve. And this year it's also going to be offered in some other areas of the state, so I've been working in collaboration with some of the other local educators out there to get that set up, so that's why we don't have dates quite yet, but it will likely be end of February is when we typically do have it. So that is pretty much all I got. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those are kind of the big points, what's going on. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I talked to another county commissioner, Stearns. Are you gonna be trying to get a seminar for beef in Stearns County by any chance?
Yes, so I actually was contacted by a farm business management instructor from St. Cloud Tech about doing a cow-calf workshop similar to the one I've been doing in Morrison County in Stearns. So we are working on that, hopefully for this winter. I'm kind of waiting for a response back from that instructor. I've kind of said my piece on it. So yes, we are working on that, and then hopefully next summer we will also be doing a beef tour in Stearns County as well.
Yeah, okay. Just don't forget.
So
about
there,
Morrison
yeah,
County.
I will not forget about Morrison, but Stearns is getting a little jealous of you guys, so.
They should be. You do such a good job at
Well,
it.
again,
Well,
you
thank
started
you.
the beef thing here, so that was
Well,
a great
thank
thing
you.
that you did here. It's been very successful in Morrison County.
Thank you. It's been a fun program to work on.
I've been at most of those, and they are very good. You've done
Thank you.
a great job, and
Yes.
it's good for the people in the area.
And you will keep us
Especially
up
when
to
you give
date
a
as
free
to when
meal.
that date's gonna be.
Yes, yep. Hopefully by next week I should have dates finalized on some of that, so I will let you all know.
And can
Anything
you
else, gentlemen?
keep us informed on the land rent workshop, December 9th?
Yep.
Even one, the times and that kind of stuff?
We're in Little Falls in the morning, so I believe it's around 10 or 10:30. I can get that information to
Could you, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Emily, have a nice Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Drive safe.
Thank you.
All right. We've got Amy, planning and zoning here, looks like.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Amy.
I just have one item for you today, and that is considering the EAW worksheet for the Doucette gravel pit and mining. We talked at the last planning session about the comments that we had received on that, and then also which way to go as far as to direct me, which kind of findings to make for this. At that planning session, it was decided that we would be making findings that no EIS is needed. So you have in your packet the findings of fact,
For more
conclusions, and
discussion,
order.
gentlemen, I would like to get a motion and a second to adopt the
So-
findings of the EIS.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I have a discussion. EAW.
Yes.
That does not tell the gravel or Doucette's, this is wrong, this is right. It just gives a recommendation, correct?
It's really just what an EAW is for. It's really a guided worksheet that requires the proposer to go through each of the environmental effects or environmental issues that can possibly happen related to a project, and they need to go through and look at their project and then look at that criteria and really examine that and say, okay, what are we doing with stormwater? What are we doing, what are we doing with contaminants? What are we doing with this? And so it's really just an informational worksheet is really what it is, and it's a guide then for the proposer and for the local unit of government to look at that and number one, determine if there is potential for significant environmental effects, then what is it that we need to be taking a deeper look at with an environmental impact statement. And then the other part is also if there is something, then that can be considered then during the permitting process as far as addressing some of those things.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Well, Mr. Chair, that worksheet was sent out to quite a few different agencies.
Yes.
I can't remember how many. Was it
Yes, there's a
19?
required distribution list. It's 17 agencies, and then we also are required to make it known to the public, the general public, then that we have this out. So yes, and that has all been done.
And there were 3 or 4 of those agencies that got back to you.
Correct.
And one of the comments, and I just need to say this, and I said it in planning, and I think it was PCA, that went through it and changed just a word and an or, if I remember. And I guess the point that I'm trying to make at, this paperwork is sent, and it truly is reviewed. And it's reviewed right down to the wording as it's done, so I'm very good with that.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, in looking at this whole project and the proposal and in reviewing the EAW, I mean, it's very clear that there aren't too many places that won't be as good as this place for a gravel pit. It's up on the hill, there's not issues with runoff, with any type of environmental damage, so, and it was vetted very well, so.
I thought so.
And one other question I have, the cost, who bears the cost of the EAW? Who bears the cost if there would be an EIS, and what's roughly the cost difference?
So the proposer bears the cost of the preparation of the EAW. The way our ordinances is set up, and most ordinances within the state, is that the proposer must provide the information the EAW is asking for. Then the county reviews and adds any additional information to make it complete. And so they're not only paying a fee to the county for our time, but generally in the preparation of this, it's usually about $3,000 to $5,000 to prepare the environmental assessment worksheet. If an EIS is ordered, it really does depend on the scope of the EIS, but those run upwards of $100,000. And that would be borne, that expense would be borne also by the proposer.
Any more questions? Thank you, Amy.
I just thought it was a very thorough job when we talked about it at planning and the public hearing,
Yep.
but there is a big difference in that fee.
Oh.
You know, so I mean, I think before a guy issues an EIS, that it needs to be warranted. And I'm
Yeah.
glad we went through this process, because $3,000 to $5,000 is a lot different than $100,000. And
know.
I don't care whose money it is, it's just
Yep.
a lot of difference, so. Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Commissioner Jelinski?
Mr. Chair, should this motion be adopted, does that mean it's done now, that they can start digging in that pit, or what does this really mean?
No, so what that
Adopt
means
findings.
is, yes, so when you adopt these findings, what you're saying is, the environmental review portion of this project is done.
Okay.
They've satisfied the requirement. Now they'll move on with us and permit the pit.
Okay, okay, very, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else, gentlemen? All right, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much.
The signature page is flagged there.
Okay.
That's it?
That's
Wow.
it. I know, amazing.
Till tomorrow,
Have a
right?
good day.
Yeah, till
We're gonna have
tomorrow.
to start talking a little slowly.
We
All
can
right.
recess
We got-
briefly and wait for
Steve?
Steve,
Why
who
wouldn't we?
knows that we're ahead of schedule, but he's trying to get here as soon as he can.
Let's take a
How
5.
about, can we do an administrative report? Do you wanna do that?
At the end, I have
I
a
see.
yeah,
Okay, all right.
so,
All right, let's recess for 10.
okay, perfect.
All right.
Hit her, Al.
Steve Bukowski, Public Works, come on down.
Hi, Steve, good
Morning,
morning.
Steve.
Morning, everyone.
Come over. They haven't been as chatty this morning, I'm referring to them, so it went ahead of schedule.
Okay.
Never know, Commissioner Jelinski and Commissioner Wilson didn't talk this much this morning?
Here we go.
Yeah. We didn't have to.
What do you
explain
have?
it.
We have to have one of those once in a
That's
while.
right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have two action items in the packet for you. The first is we're requesting the Commissioner of Transportation to perform a traffic engineering investigation on County Road 258. There's a segment on 258 between 103rd Street and Rosehaven Boulevard that's seen quite a bit of development in through there. And we have poor sight distance. We've had several complaints about during bus pickups in that area. Vehicles don't have enough area distance to come to a complete stop without having to really hit the binders. And so we're requesting that they would review this and do an investigation to try to establish a lower speed limit in that area.
Chairman, I need
I
a
would so
motion in a
move.
second. for more discussion. I gotta need a
Second.
second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I have again, a map that you have seen previously that we can utilize for our discussion on a memorandum of understanding that was in your packet. We have been dealing with this for quite some time. I think it probably started maybe as much as 2 years ago. I think Commissioner Winter in your district, you had received or had a conversation with the township and city officials down in this airport road area, where the township had originally started to contemplate doing some improvements on 155th Avenue and 133rd Street. The problem with what they were going to do there was that it left a gap in the connection to the city of Little Falls. We have 4th Street from State Highway 27 coming to the south and then crossing over Highway 10 all the way to the airport. That currently is a county road. Then it turns into a city street. The 138th Street is a gravel, somewhat unimproved city street. Then again turns into the township road. Well, they were looking at making that improvement, and the city had not had much for plans on 138th Street. So we went into conversations on how we maybe could do a project out in this area to do an improvement that would benefit the community overall. And part of that would be to provide better access to the airport, better access to the hospital, the nursing homes, schools, all those things that are down in that area from that southeastern area of the city of Little Falls. We had a number of conversations with them. One of the issues was the intersection of 133rd Street and our 160th Avenue. By improving just the city street and the township roads and increasing the traffic to that intersection, I think we all had some concerns on the safety of it. In the end, this memorandum of understanding was developed, which lays out a number of things in trying to make this a fair and equitable transition. And we're doing some exchanges, we're doing some, we're providing services to try to get this thing to happen. And so as we go through the therefores, this is what each of us will have to contribute towards this project. The town portion, which is the township's portion, is shown in blue on our map. And essentially the township would be required once the project's designed, is to acquire all that right-of-way needed to build the roadway. This is on new alignment going right straight through property that currently does not have any road segment on it. So that will be a more difficult, more complicated acquisition. That will be their responsibility to obtain that right-of-way. The replaced roads is once the road is constructed, that segment of 155th Avenue and 133rd Street in green will be restricted, where through traffic of automobiles and trucks will not be allowed. It is possible that other vehicles may be allowed, potentially ATVs and that type of thing, to provide a connection to the city through other trails that may develop in the future. On the city's portion, that would be the orange piece of 138th Street. They too would be responsible for the acquisition of the property for the upgrading of that segment of roadway once it's ready for construction. And their other contribution to this is a transfer once the county would designate all of 138th Street to 166 or 160th Avenue as county road, that they would take over Riverview in the city of Little Falls, which is currently a county road behind the greenhouse, ties into our 76. That's a county road currently. That would be taken over by the city when we designated this as our county road. So basically a pretty fair exchange mile for mile. We would then designate this, the 4th Street segment all the way to 160th Avenue as a county road. And that would become our system. We would put it, once we have the right-of-way acquired, we'd put it into our road program and within 2 years build it and pave it.
And that's essentially what this agreement is providing. Once you adopt this, there probably won't be very much action that takes place right away here with the snow events that we had in terms of collecting data and preparing for design. But in the spring, we would kick this thing in and start the actions that are needed to get it designed.
Gentlemen, I need a motion, a
So
second
moved.
for more discussion. I got a motion.
Second.
And a second to set a public, issue.
Essentially to adopt the memorandum of understanding.
All right. I got a motion, a second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have been supportive of this from the beginning, but with one condition, and that is I was very concerned about the one four-way crossing that we had and creating two new T intersections. So we create 3 intersections as opposed to 1, and Ts are always an issue where you're coming onto a fast-moving highway. So with this closure of the offset here of 155th, four-wheelers, whatever, if that's a part of that plan, great, but as far as vehicles accessing and getting onto these high-speed roads, that concerned me greatly, so I am in support as long as that is addressed.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's
Anything
all-
else, Steve?
That's all I have, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right.
Steve,
Thanks.
very
good.
good.
Thank you,
Steve.
Steve.
Question. Could you give us a little update on roads, how you handle, you guys did a great job the other day with the snow and stuff. Can you tell me, do snow plows go out whenever it snows, or is there a time limit, or is there?
Normally, the road superintendent, our our labor foreman, depending on, I mean, they're watching the weather. We've got all that technology. They're watching what's happening as far as how the snow event is coming in. This one, we knew it was coming in wet. It was gonna be a very wet event. We knew it was gonna be rain early on, and so, everything started at normal time. Then as it progressed, it didn't take very long, and we had contact up in Kevin's district, which was the toughest part of our county, with Scandia Valley, their maintenance folks up there. It was coming down hard and fast. We had started up there first around 10 o'clock, then we had enough snow to start doing some work up there. Unfortunately, Highway 10 ended up getting closed down. When Highway 10 closed down, we had traffic that then was trying to hit county roads to get by. We had vehicles we had a truck and fifth wheel jackknife that blocked out 5 up there, then all the traffic back behind it, up on 1. We had vehicles in some of the intersections that, you start getting 6 and 7 inches of snow, couldn't make it through. So they're in the middle of the road and we can't do our job. And we had plows trying to get around them, getting stuck because of that. All those things were happening, but the start time really comes from evaluating how the storm event is coming through and the foreman's watching that and their experience with that and knowing when it's time to do it.
I know you gave us a report one time where there's times when we go out early before and we put down a chemical because we know that rain's coming and things. I just thought it was very interesting on how you look at things to do the highways, and I think it's a good time for people just to understand that you have things under control and you're out there when you're supposed to be out there.
They try, each event is certainly kind of different, temperature-wise, how it's moving through. I know that, sometimes they expect that there's a response a lot faster than we're able to. But those type of things, we're getting going, trying towards the end of the storm, so we're not wasting a lot of effort and time in equipment and labor and not accomplishing a lot. Once they were, once our crews were sent out, then, we went straight through. They were almost out 18 hours straight. So there was a hard event, one of the worst ones, I'd say, in all the time I've been here, and I think that's what you'd hear from the operators too.
I just thought you did a great job. I know I went to some other areas and boy, when we left here, it was different.
They cleaned up pretty good on Saturday, so luckily
County
that
roads are
turned
better
out.
than the state roads.
Oh, yeah.
Some places,
I know.
yeah.
We have good people that work here that really take their job serious, and
I
it's,
just want to thank all those people for all they do.
Yes.
They're out there when nobody else can be out there, and when there's cars out there stuck and everything, it makes it that much worse for them.
You better check yourself, Steve, you got a fever, because it's not very often, I'm afraid, during a snow event that you really hear, thank you, because most people are saying, how come my road isn't plowed yet? And how come it's so icy? So, but you did, it was
It was
tremendous.
a miserable snowfall.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad one.
Well, thank you for
You
what
bet,
you
I
Thank
will
you.
pass that on to our operators.
Please.
Yep, thank you.
Please.
All right. Now I guess we can do administration report?
Yes. I just have one thing to talk about before that wasn't in your board packet, and I'm hoping it comes up here. But we have Miss Katie, who was awarded the Emerging Leader from the LPHA, Local Public Health Association, and they had identified that while she's been in the position just less than 2 years, soon after she took her position, she volunteered to be secretary of the organization and really broadened her ability to influence the discipline. And for the past year, she served on the executive committee, and she really shows enthusiasm and a true understanding of public health issues and works with her region to promote public health, and clearly one of the emerging leaders of public health throughout the state. So we are very lucky to have her here. I'm glad we have her here. I think we all knew that seeing her when she came and interviewed, but congratulations. Good job.
Good job, thank
Is this a photo op time too, or yes, no?
Well, we're going to place this photo in the paper because it wasn't necessarily an award from
Mr.
us.
Wilson
But,
wanted his
oh, okay, yeah.
Mr. Richard, you do not need to be in there with it.
So we will recognize Miss Katie and forward that on, yes, Mr.
love it.
Pass the
Chair.
buck, Randy.
But I can take a picture of you later if that's what you
All right, Mr. Wilson, there you go.
They got Snapchat now, or do you do selfies?
All right, gentlemen, we need to consider, let's do the board, let's do our,
Well, there's a couple things first. Then now back to the board packet, if you might. I just took a little bit of a detour there for you.
let me say one more thing.
A couple more things, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
We need to consider the resolution in the board packet to set the public hearing for the notice of the intent to issue general obligation capital improvement plan bonds. We've talked about this for a couple of years now in terms of the needs we have in the facility and the building and the campus as a whole regarding space issues, maintenance issues, security issues, all of that. And so we've been working towards a plan that can meet the needs with as little financial impact as possible. And we've developed a plan that does that without a levy increase, considering we have bonds that are coming off of the books. The process to move forward with that is to set a public hearing, which is identified the 20th of December with a question and answer informational session on the 13th in the evening.
The,
14th or 13th?
13.
the 20th is gonna be at a board meeting.
Yes.
But the 13th is at
It's in the
7
evening.
PM?
So the board had indicated the desire to really offer a number of opportunities, some in the evening, some during the day, for the question and answer and the input from the public. And so that, the resolutions identified set forth that motion.
So moved.
I'd second
We have a motion and a second, any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
All right, that is that. And then the next resolution I have is the closed session with the labor negotiation topic. So if we could go through schedules quick and then we can address that.
Let's do the schedules first, how about, I'll go first. Where's mine?
Where are we at here?
What's the dates?
November
28th
What are the dates?
28th through the 9th.
through the 9th.
Just all right.
All right, here's what I got. You ready? Okay, on the 28th, we have a planning commission meeting at 7 o'clock. On Tuesday, we have a planning session at 8:30. That would be the 29th. On the 2nd, we have a TSWAC at the landfill at 8:30. Most of us will be attending the AMC conference from the 4th through the 6th. And I believe that gets over like at noon on the 6th, so we'll also have a Board of Adjustments that evening on the 6th at 7 o'clock. There's a department head meeting at 8:30. We have another board meeting at 9 o'clock on the 1st, and there's a truth.
Eighth, on the 8th.
On the 8th.
Yep. And then we have a truth and taxation at 7 PM that evening. That's what I have on my schedule. Commissioner Wilson.
I have all of the same, except I've got a perm meeting.
You have a perm, you said?
Perm, yep. It's, just a minute here, I just lost it.
I have it written down myself. It's
December
from,
2nd, oh, I think.
from 5 to 9. That's the first, I think.
December
December
1st, at the Blaine Bowling Alley in the cities, and it's on trust, stuff on the trust that I would like to go to. So,
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, on the 30th, I've got a correction advisory meeting here at the courthouse. I think it's 8:30, and I'm not sure if it's meeting room 1 or what.
Okay.
But Nicole can tell you that. And then on the 1st of December, I got a South Country meeting in Owatonna at 9 AM. We got the cheese flack. And then, yeah, the AMC stuff. I think that's it.
All right, Commissioner Zelinski.
On the 28th, at 9 o'clock in the morning for the day, I'll be spending it with Tara Jordan's class at the Little Falls Community High School at her health class. At 5 o'clock that evening, should be a Stand Up For You meeting at the Little Falls Community Middle School Library. I may go to that same meeting that Commissioner Wilson was talking about in Blaine. I will not be at the department head meeting. On the 8th, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I've got an Armor Conference planning meeting, phone conference. And at 5:30 on the 8th, there's a Trails meeting. And on the 9th of December, there's a Armor Rack meeting, and I think that's in Stearns County.
Commissioner Mauer.
28th, 5 o'clock, Stand Up For You, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the 29th, HRA. 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 30th would be a Public Health Advisory Committee meeting, and then on the 8th with Jeff, the Trails meeting at 5:30.
All right, thank you for those. How about at,
Well, why don't we address the resolution and you can vote on it?
that's what I was gonna do.
Okay. The resolution,
I'm gonna need a motion to consider approving a resolution for a closed executive session to discuss a union labor negotiation. I got a
Second.
motion, a second, and that's at 10:24. All right,